Okay, let's try that again. Fantastic. Hello, the internet. Apologies for that. I have changed microphones since I last streamed, and this is a very last minute setup where Alex gave me very little notice. So if you are expecting Alex, apologies. He's not here. You can even tell I've got the wrong backdrop for this particular thing. Can you hear me now? Just checking on the chat to see if I can see the meters moving. Apologies for the lack of people listening to random other things while waiting for Don to appear. Let's wait for the stream. They can hear me. Tom is saying it's coming through robotic. Right, let's try something. 2 secs. How's that? Is that better? Tom is suggesting the buffer size is too small and that's why it was bad. Yes, no, it wasn't anything to do with the buffer size. It was to do with the fact that I have 3 microphones attached to this machine. Historically, I've had a different microphone that died, and for some reason it's defaulting to a microphone that is covered by my webcam. Right, let's start again. Let's go back to the beginning. Hopefully that's all the glitches. So I'm not sure if I'd cut away by the time I said this, but this has been put together at very short notice. So I've literally grabbed the setup I had for my last stream, which had my old mic, which is why we've got mic problems. Alex has given me very little notice. So this is a little bit ad hoc and sort of thrown together at the last minute. And what we're going to be doing is just looking at some stuff I'm messing around with. So quick introduction. I'm Dom. I am a Go developer. So I will be writing in Go. I do a bunch of talks for Nordev and other places. And I am also number 1 on the Nordev Me6 challenge board. So we have a Discord server. I won't go see what the mentions are just yet because I don't want to put people live on the stream, which is why I'm on the bot test. But we have a Me6 bot, and every time you chat with Me6, you can gain experience. So if we go here, you can see that every minute you can gain between 15 and 25 experience. So if you put in a qualifying chat within a 60-second period, you get a random amount of experience between 15 and 25. If you chat more than that within the minute, you don't get any more experience, so that stops the spamming. Now, historically, I have won these quarterly challenges by a huge margin. This month, or this quarter, should I say, I am not in the lead by a huge margin because Alex decided it would be hysterically funny to remove me from the competition during the middle of the competition. Now, I must stress that this is nothing to do with the fact that Alex can't stream tonight. I have not harmed Alex yet. That will come later. So, yes, I decided that I was going to take some more details because this is quite sort of granular. I'm sorry, not very granular. You've got 4K messages. Well, how many is that? 80K experience. How much is that? How much do I have to go until I hit level 32 and all that? Thankfully, there is this Me6 endpoint, and we've been gathering data from this endpoint for quite a number of months. It goes off, and we do some analysis. But I wanted real-time feedback, so I went and wrote this thing, which is in a bit of a weird aspect ratio because it was designed to go onto a Raspberry Pi, and that particular Pi has a 420 by 300 or something screen on it, and it's running in the console, which has limited things a lot. So what I want to do is actually make this more terminal friendly, and I'll run it on my laptop and make it so it's wider and I can get more information. So the idea is I'm going to sort of have it like this, and then I've got loads more space for stuff to go on there. And I can also put a little bit more in terms of stats. But as you can see, I am roughly 2 messages away from the next level. Now, Me6 does allow another command where I can say rank, and it will give me a little bit more information about my current level. So I've got 6.43k experience towards 6.46 k experience required, and that's a little bit more granular than we had before, but it's not great. Now, because we've got a 1 minute window in which we can put qualifying chats, this app only updates, or the program only updates every 60 seconds. So there's a small bit of lag, but if you start hitting the API endpoint too often, you're going to get rate limited. But in the next however long, you should see that 42 experience change to somewhere between 22 and 17. And the messages should change from approximately 2 to approximately 1. The reason why the messages are all approximate figures is because you don't actually know how much experience you're getting for each message. So if I was extremely unlucky and I got 20 and 20 for 2 messages, then it would actually take me 3 messages to hit that next level. So wait for that to... Is that actually running? Because I've resized things, it's looking in the wrong place. There we are. So it's showing 1 message left and 27 XP. So unfortunately, that's going to require 2 messages for me to chat. Rounding has caused that to say that it's 1. So I can turn around and I can again do rank here, and again, you can see I've gone up by 0.02k messages. Doesn't really help. And I'll be able to see live on my Raspberry Pi that things have... I'm just seeing on the... At some point, okay, so there's discussions going back to the speed of light and various other things which have been on Discord, and I encourage people to join the Discord if they want to continue that discussion. Today we're going to be talking about the coding. So my XP has updated again. I think because of the way this is running, it's now scrolling down. I've got a weird size. So we've got 7 XP left, which means that my next chat will level me up to 32, and Damien, who was in the lead for a great period of time during this particular competition, will be even more upset. Anyway, to the code. The code is quite simple. We've got a little bit of config, which allows me to define a bunch of stuff. So I've got some colors that can be specified in the config file, because the colors I put together on the terminal looked horrible on the Raspberry Pi. Thing about the width, because the separator character I was using in the terminal didn't work on the Raspberry Pi, and various other things. Show end users, so we can sort of define how many users we should be showing in our output, and the width of the display we're using, so we can do some calculations with that. And then some stuff to do with Me6, so the guild snowflake, basically the server we're on, and the user snowflake. So the idea is that this will show a particular user, and if they are not in the top n users that get returned, it will then just put them at the bottom and drop the bottom user off. So that's the config side. Let's just quickly what do we want to do here? Might drop. Let's go for that. Boom. There we are. We just hit level 32. So I can use this to track where I am in relation to everyone else, and everyone else can use this to track where they are in relation to me. Right, so we have the code to deal with Me6. This is quite straightforward. So there's a payload type, which is literally just the JSON representation of the API endpoint. A loader function that will go off and or load function that will go off and return the payload from Me6. So that just goes off, makes a GET request off to the Me6 API. And then there's leaderboard, which is a better representation of the data that's coming back. So I don't care about all the data that's come back from this API endpoint, and I do care about certain bits. So I basically fish them out and put them into a slightly better format. So step is the average XP step size. The Me6 API endpoint will give you 2 integers, the lower amount of XP and the upper amount of XP, and all I do is I add them together and divide by 2. Users is a map of my user type, and rankings is an ordered set of the keys for users, because maps in Go are unordered. So this allows me to maintain an order. A user is quite simple. You've got a name. Level is their current experience level. Rank is their current rank. If I remember rightly, that starts at 1, not 0. Messages is the total number of messages that they've sent that have qualified for experience. And then experience is another type which holds the total experience that the user has gained over the period of the competition, the current experience they have in the level, and the required amount of experience for that level. And then we've got a little bit of code that helps us build up one of these things. So I'm being reasonably blasé about what's coming back from the API endpoint. So an experience block within the API endpoint is just a slice of, or an array of, a JSON array of 3 ints. And all I've done here is turn around and say, well, if it's 3 ints, then we can say that the total experience is the first one, the required experience is the second one, and the current experience is the last one. And if for some reason we've got the wrong number, we will just make it up. So we will, if we're too long, we will just pull out the required and the current, and if we're 1 long, we'll just pull out the current, and if we don't have any of them, then or if it's too long or whatever, we're going to return an empty XP block. It doesn't really deal with error handling. New leaderboard basically takes a payload, so takes that JSON object from the Me6 endpoint and builds the leaderboard. I don't know whether XP per message is 2 items or not. I haven't gone off and read the spec for the endpoint, so I've assumed it's just a slice of an array of numbers. So I total them, and then assuming the XP per message slice is greater than 0, we just we divide by that. The voids only divide by 0 errors if we get an empty array back from there, and just works out a basic average. Because we're dealing with integers here, Go will handle the rounding for us. Then we go through and we're pulling out simple things. So the ID is what I use for the key. So shove that into the rankings. The information is ordered from the API endpoint in rank order, so I can throw that into the ranking, and then I can just pull out the username, the level, their rank. Yes, it is 1 based, so I take I and add 1, because you are rank 1 when you're first. You're not rank 0. The message count, and then I pull out the experience using that new thing. A couple of helper functions that I've got here. So returns the user at a given rank. So if I want to know who's in second place or who's in third place, I can pull that out. And pulls out the top n users, but will insert the specified user at the bottom as the nth user if they're not in the top n. So this allows me to get my data out. This is probably where we're going to be playing today. Some terminal stuff. If you are familiar with ANSI escape sequences, then I am so sorry. If you're not, I am also so sorry, because you will be by the end of this. They are artifacts from an earlier time and absolutely hideous. And this is effectively trying to abstract out the fact that I want to make my text bright and colourful. There's this stuff as well. I mean, these are just horrible escape sequences that mean nothing, but also mean everything. And the last thing is our monitor. So we've got this run function that gets called from the main program, and it just sits there in a loop. We will log out any errors and then go back to displaying the output. This is partly to do with the fact that my internet can be flaky, and overnight the internet drops out. And if it just falls over when it can't reach the Me6 API endpoint, then the application dies. So this will show the error for a minute, and then hopefully display the leaderboard again. The idea being that if we're getting a consistent error, it will stay on screen and not get cleared. Yes, here's our display. So we are using our term package to clear the screen. hide the cursor, which doesn't appear to be working, and then we go through and we display our top end users. And display user is just a massive function that formats the data in a way that is acceptable. We've got name, format, and left, and these are just things that do calculations for sizes and widths and stuff. It would be slightly easier, I think, with my idea to sort of revamp it for a bigger screen. With the formatting, I think I might have fixed width columns and then worry about what I can show and just drop columns off if they won't fit. And then what stats? Ah, yes. So the stats are things that I build for the user that are not part of the leaderboard stats that have come back. So whether or not I show how far a user is ahead, how far they are behind, how much XP they require for the next level, how many messages roughly, and how far ahead and how far behind they are. And a function to build that information up. So all of this is really quite simple. There's no rocket science here. It's just playing around with numbers. And despite the fact that there's stats in the title, they're not really statistics. They're just numbers. Although we might add stats. We'll see how things go. Now the first thing that I want to do is, for almost all of time, let's see if I can't. There was a Go package I used. Is it that one? Bright lights. This was not, or was it the one I used? No, this was not the one. Oh, yes, it was. There we go. So that package, for reasons, didn't really have an API that I liked. And in fact, I didn't need a lot of what that package was providing because it does a whole lot of windowing and stuff. What I did sort of care about was this stuff. So this is the description of what the ANSI escape codes do. And most importantly, you've got the old school way of defining colours, where you have these wonderfully easy to remember numbers for normal colours, then bright colours, which of course display in a wonderfully consistent fashion across systems. And not all systems will display bright colours. So I've noticed the Raspberry Pi doesn't seem to display the bright colours. Technology moved on, and we ended up with this 8-bit colour specification, and that's currently what I'm using, is this idea of the 8-bit colour specification, because you've got your standard 16 colours for foreground and background, so it's kind of backwards compatible, and then allows you to have these 216 colours plus the grayscale colours, which is nice. But apparently we can have 24-bit colour, which would be nice. I have no idea if I'm going to get this working, but we're going to give it a go. Now, there's a lot of horrible escape sequences in this, which you're going to have to trust me on the sort of the translation of escape and into what's going on. So we're going to need a test to start off with. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to jump into this, which is my Scratch project, and let's take the color code, and this is what we need. Bung that in there, shove that there, do that. And then if I go let's type, I'll look up these colours in a bit, and then that wants an interface I, so that's just going to be hello. Well, let's go quickly check up those colours. So up we go. if we do white on black, so that's 15 for the 15 for the background and 0 for the foreground, and that wants to be printf, and we probably want a new line on the end of that. That hideous string should print out hello world with a yellow background and a black foreground. And we can use the various sort of other colours in here, so we can pick something a little bit more funky. So we could say 243 for our background, and then we can, oops, that's 5, 3, and then we can pick a lovely shade of 27 for our foreground. Run that, and there we go, grey with blue. Although that is horribly bad contrast. So what we've got here is that says set the background, that says set the foreground, that's the thing that I'm printing, and that says reset the colours to how we want them. So next step, let's just duplicate that line. This now says that we need 38, 2, and then RGB. So I'm going to just assume that 2 is a fine number to use because they've got it there. Value 2 to specify regular in group format. Yes, so we've got 38 and 48 there already. Ah, right. Interesting. So that 5 specifies this mode that we were using before. So we change it to the 2. And then we put in RGB in brackets or not brackets? Not brackets, because color space ID is down there. Semicolon separated. So this is actually just going to be a println because we're not going to put stuff. Actually, I'll do a printf, but we will only put in I, and I will hard code background and foreground just for now. So this, if we're going to say that we want a sort of light grey, so if we say we want maybe 200, and let's give it a bit of a tinge, let's give it a bit of a blue hue, and then this one we're going to have a very dark, maybe reddy colour, so let's put in a little bit of red and nothing of the green and the blue. Now hopefully, he says, that worked. Great, so we now have control over our output, and we can go a little bit further and just make sure that we actually have the full control. So if I take this, shove that there, and don't care about the background for the moment, so we'll take that off. We're going to have an R, a G, and a B, and that is going to be %D, and that is going to be a %D, and that is going to be a %D, and then we can shove all of that in a loop. Let's say let's just say up to is it not equal to 255 I plus plus, and then we can say, and Go will handle this for us. We turn around and we can say that we're going to take the red component is I over 5, the green component is I over 2, and the blue component is I. And then if we Oh, we've redone I. Duh. Quick variable rename. There we go. So it started off fairly black and has gone off. So that would allow me to have RGB color. So let's take that and shove that. Oh, actually, first of all, before we do anything, boom, boom, boom. I've got all this set up, so I can't actually commit anything if I don't have an issue associated with it. So let's, no, I don't want Jira. Create issue, and we are going to say, 24-bit color, assigned means, enhancement, create the issue, and that should be issue number 2. Is issue number 2. Right, so dung 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 dung. We need terminal, that'd be good. Let's clear that. If you've not seen my workflow before, I have a few aliases for Git. My repositories are set up so that they have to have an issue, and the branches are named after the issue, and the commit comments have to have the issue number in them, and various other things. So that's where the sort of the Git new and everything comes from. They're my own scripts. So we're going to go into term and color, and you'll also note that I'm spelling color correctly because we are in the UK here and we speak British English, and color has a U in it. Fun fact for you: the only programming language that I'm aware of that spelled color correctly was BBC Basic. Right, so let's actually just borrow from our American color cousins briefly and change that to color so we don't break things too badly, and then we can have a color, and we are going to want to take an interface and a RG and a B. Actually, I don't think we are going to take an interface. I think we're just going to take an RGB int. So we don't need that. So what I'm thinking here is that we're just going to send the code for the RGB component. Now, if we want to make this generic, we also need to say whether it's the background or the foreground. We can actually do that with some consts. So I think first of all I'm going to define a type. I mean, you can get around the type system and go quite easily. So if I was just to define consts as integers and then do some simple addition, then it would work in a very similar way. But I like to do what are we going to call this type? Mode, perhaps, isn't it? And then we can say const, and we can say foreground is mode 38. Wrong brackets. And we can say that background is mode 48. And we can take a mode and dunk, shift the mode in there. Oops, like that. So we've now got something that will return a return a color string for us. And we probably want, I think I've already got, have we got a reset? No, I haven't, good. So we want a reset as well. Reset, which is just going to return this lovely thing here. Oops. You'll note that my IDE automatically puts in the escape code, and in fact they weren't the Unicode characters when I cut and paste them in. My IDE changed them to the Unicode characters. It was something else. Okay, so this transition will be useful, but for the moment I'm just going to break the rest of the code by commenting that out. Get rid of that, and let's just bung a little. Escape code sequence of the given color, and then reset will return the reset sequence returning foreground and background color to default, and then this is color modes. Might actually, no, I won't pick it up. And might define for setting color for the foreground or background. Excellent. These are grayed out currently because we don't have any tests for them. These tests are not going to work. Yoink. But what we can do now is a funky example color. Now I am going to cheat with this because I'm not actually. Do I have to? No, I might be able to build up what I'm expecting. So if I say that format printman, we're going to have background for background reset and my string. So this is going to be term.color, term.background. Arenki is asking, am I using type mode as a function? No, all I'm saying is that mode is a type. Go will actually do some boxing for me. So if I was to, let's just quickly put RGB in there so we got that. I think if I was to turn around here and pass in 0, because mode is essentially just an int by another name, Go, the compiler, is clever enough to realize that actually it can cast that straight away to a mode. So like I say, it's easy enough to bypass these types, but I think it's a nice sort of semantic hint to the developer. So my term.background could have been just an int, but then you're looking at it and it's saying, I take 4 ints, and you might think that the mode was actually the transparency for the alpha channel, whereas this way we're specifying where it comes from. Anyway, my background, let's make this a little bit dark. We're going to have a foreground now, just for formatting. I'm going to term.color, term.foreground, and I may actually rename foreground and background FG and BG, just because I'm thinking about how far across it goes. Let's make this whitish, like that. Then we want hello world, and then we want term.reset. Like so. Do you not? a brace in the wrong place. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there is a formatting directive in there. We want to printf. And then, because of the way that Go examples work, I can say this is my expected output, and I am expecting to have escape 48 to 25, 25, 25. In fact, to make this a slightly better test, let's do that. So we're expecting 25, 26, 27, and then this is going to be 200, 201, 202. Then we have hello world. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. So if we run this, hopefully it'll compile. Right, we did not get what we were expecting. So what did we get? Let's have a look. Now nicely, oh, not nicely. Nope. And how about that? Nope. Interesting. How was I getting those the last time I did this? Maybe I was doing it from... Sure, I was doing it from here, because this is normally how I run my tests, but it is not. That's just a warning. Let's try it from the terminal. That's not going to work. Go test. Oops. Test. Let's see whether this works. No! How annoying. I may need to look into what's going on there, because I can see it's actually working. I can see it's working quite well. Oh, I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. Yeah, there we go. I'd fluffed up that escape code. So that's now passing. So I've now got a little bit of a passing test there to just sort of check that it's doing what I expect, and an example for the user. So this would appear in documentation. I'll leave them for now. Clear is still works. Clear is not that portable, I don't think. I'm not entirely sure whether Clear will work in Windows or not, but it'll certainly work on Macs and Linux-based systems. So now that we've said that we can set our colours up, let's try something. So I want effectively to be able to build up a nice easy string when I'm displaying stuff. So if we go have a look at our display functions, we can ignore, actually let's put transition back for now, and then let's do this, change that to color, just so that it will compile. Should have done a rename on that. This is quite nasty, where I've had to write a write function, and then write does this format.print with various colours and stuff like that. I don't know whether I want the ability to do something that's more like a formatting directive. So what I was thinking is maybe we could do something clever, where I am actually just no, they're not going to be around too much. I'm thinking if we say that we take a formatting directive, so we're going to say I hate the word colorize, but we'll do that for now. The spell checker's not whinging at me, and we're going to take a format, which is a string, and a slice of a variable number of interfaces. And then we are going to say I'm having an idea. I think we actually need a color type. Because my idea is that I want to extend the formatting directive basically, and to allow a string that will allow a foreground and a background and a reset. I don't know what that. Oh, I don't think I'll a formatting type character. And then go through that and pull out the colours from what's been passed in. Of course, we're requiring RGB colours in here. So actually, what we might want to do is, if we park this for the time being, come off with a type. So this is going to be a more complex type than what we did with our mode. And spell and type. So we're going to have a struct, and we're going to have red, which is an int, and green, which is an int, and blue, which is an int, and then just the mode, which is this is an anonymous member of the type, so it'll be called mode in there, and it's just of type mode. So if we have a color like that, then we can take our colorize function, and we can say, actually before we do that, we want to attach a function to color. So I want to have a string function on it, and this will do that, except we can say c.mode, c.red, c.green, and c.blue. Excellent. So that now handles my color string. So I can now iterate through my, I don't even need to iterate through my set of interfaces. The way that the format package works, if I pass something with this interface on it, it will call the string interface, if I'm not mistaken. So I should be able to do strings.replace all, and let's just quickly bung in. So fg is going to be %fg. I don't need that. Bg is going to be %bg, and I think we're going to have that for oops, reset. That should be explicit here. Foreground, background, and then I'm just very quickly going to check in the Go format package and make sure that R isn't actually a formatting directive. I don't think it is. Not found. Let's just make sure that it's not percent isn't doing anything with the switch, so we can do %f is going to be a problem, as is %b. Uppercase F as well. Oh, how annoying. Right, we'll use a different character. What character are we going to use? There we go. Right, so we can say that format is equal to strings.replace all, so the source string is going to be format. And we're going to look for foreground, and we are going to replace it with %s. Let's stick this up here as well. So we'll shove that with the place order. And then we want to do the same. With background, and then format strings, replace all, format reset. Just thinking whether I should make these exposed or not. No, because they're going in. They're going in format strings. Let's just copy that out and shove that in here. So that's our reset code. So we'll change reset with reset code. And then we should be able to, let's return that as a string. Format.sprintf. Hello. Oh, idiot. Format.sprintf. I need to return that. So my conjecture is that, so we don't need you anymore. And I would do, which one's that? We copied that twice. No, we do need that one. That's off this color thing. So my conjecture is, if we go back to color test, rather than doing like this, what we should be able to say is that we want a full background and a foreground, and this is going to be a term dot colorize, so background, foreground, and a reset, and just one string placeholder in there, and then here we can say what are you whinging about? Yes, that's fine. So that's mode. I've got Go set to be quite explicit about everything. So although you can specify a new type by just putting the arguments in the right order, I've set the linter to whinge at me for doing that. So it's red, green, blue, and we don't need to pass in a reset because that's fine. In fact, even better, we do that, we don't even need to put a reset code on the end. We can just say always stick a reset. It won't hurt to have a reset on the end of the line, even if we've not set anything. So that should, in theory, give me the same output, but now allow me to no. Didn't happen anything because we're no longer printing within this function name. We're just returning things. So we got interesting. That doesn't look like it reset. Let's just be explicit about this and make sure I'm not doing anything dumb. So that's the reset code. Reset code is that. So let's just rerun that with the reset code explicitly sent. Still not. Still not resetting. So if I take that off, I would expect nothing to change. And it doesn't, so why is that not doing anything? Let's just stick some debug in there. So I expect something on the end of that. What I'm going to do now is convert this to bytes. So I can actually see what's coming back. Oops, not bytes, byte. And I am getting %s, 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 and 4 things on the end. So that is a reset string, I believe. Because we've got our escape code. Right. Curiouser and curiouser, so I believe that should be fine with the plus equals. That's not going to work. I think I have an idea as to what's... I know exactly what's causing the problem. I've got a /n in there. So the reset code's been put after my /n. Bingo. So that's now worked. Now you'll notice we didn't actually change the output that we were expecting for the test. What we've done is we've just changed what's going into the test. So I've changed the I've sort of changed the semantic there in terms of how we're colorizing a string, but we're not changing the effect to the string coming out. So that actually makes me feel slightly happier about how we can build up some nice lines of colored text. So the last thing we need to do is, in this particular thing, this transition idea, so they can go. Let's just quickly pump some documentation on so transitions up there. So they don't need a comment this. Oops. Background specified. mode. The ANSI sequence, escape sequence, let's put it in properly. Escape sequence. For the color type, and then next question, do I even need to go as far as having the directives, because we could just put %s's in. Yes, because I think I actually might make this code better at some point in the future, and whinge if I've got a formatting directive that is not correct. But for now it won't do. So FG specifies a foreground color, background color, FG and PG expect a color type. Arguments. There we go. What have I done here? Let the spell checker sort it out for me. Arguments. So yeah, we'll sort out making that less error prone, more me proof later. So let's just move these consts. I like to have my code in a reasonably consistent order. These are all going to go. In fact, they can all go now. And we can actually extend this later to have color types that are not 24-bit for things that don't support them. But for now, we'll ditch that. And this last thing is a transition. Now, transition was something that was printing. If we go over here, it does this arrow. So we go arrow with a foreground color and a background color specified, so it all sort of bleeds in nicely. So we may change that to B. You go file, and we'll just call it arrow. And foreground and background colors. Don't actually need the symbol. We'll do foreground and background as a color, and then we can. I just need to go find, where did I have the arrow? more lovely escape codes. So you'll note that again IDE is going between there where it's printing the actual character to here where it's printing the Unicode escape code. So we are going to return, we're going to colorize this, and our formatting string is going to be a foreground, a background, our arrow, and a reset. In fact, we don't need that because it's the end of that string, and then that's going to be foreground, background, and our arrow. And then what we are going to expect for this, if we do a arrow test, quick time check. Test and a funky example arrow, format print none, and we're going to say term.arrow, and might actually define thinking we can extend this slightly further. So if I define black as being a colour with red, green, and blue. Don't know whether it's foreground or that's not a const. We don't know whether it's a foreground or a background until we use it. So what we can do is we can turn around and we can say, right, func c color, oops, foreground, and that will just, we need to make these pointer functions now. Oops. Because we are modifying the state of our type. No, actually, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to leave them as non-pointer functions, and we're going to say return it, because we don't want to modify what we don't want pointers to these things. We want to actually have unmodified versions. So we're going to return a color, fill in all fields, and it's going to be red is going to be c.red, green is going to be c.green, blue is going to be c.blue, and mode is going to be foreground. Will it all fit on one line? Yes, it will. And then we can do the same for background. That becomes background and background. So we can now, within our test, this is why it's quite good to be doing these sort of test functions, because you can work out how you're semantically going to use stuff. Because what I want to say is I've got black, which is going to be a foreground color, so I can say term.black.foreground, and we also want why are you complaining? Maybe because I don't have multiple here. White equals color, and that's going to be red 255, green 255, blue 255. And we can go off and define more of these later. So we can go white is term.white.background, And then we can say arrow, and we've done foreground, background the correct way around. So our foreground is going to be white, and sorry, our foreground is going to be black. No, we do want white. No, we want a black, but we want a white background and a white black foreground. Confusing myself now. So we just basically want to invert what I've got on my terminal, so I've got a visual. And then what we're going to expect is this sort of. So it's going to be this escape codes, except we're going to have 0 background's white. 255. This is going to be 0, 0. 0, that is going to be our arrow character. Let's just go and grab that. Oops, no, wrong window. So let's see. Does not pass. It looks fine. Our background is white. Our foreground is black. And that's just giving me back that. Interesting. We can worry about that later because it looks like it's working. Looks very much like it's working. We've got the escape 0 end on the end. We should have that because we are colorizing. Have we done something silly with the printing? Let's just do that and see whether that fixes it, whether it's a new line thing or not. No, it's not. Didn't think, but we do need to just check. Okay. Let's check out the bytes then. Byte slice of, oops, that. Nope. That. Now we go to the internet. Dun, dun, dun. 38.2.0.0.0M 48.2.255.255.255M 0M, and then it's confused about that particular character. But that should be fine. Let's just see whether it's the arrow character that's confusing things. No. Right, okay, so escape. Well, it's not printing the escape, but we're expecting escape to be there. 38.2. Ah! We're the other way round. That's why. Why are we the other way around for our colour tests? we specify background then foreground. So let's just go have a look on there. Let's do it that way then. Background first, then foreground when we're printing stuff out. Let's make this consistent. Background then foreground. Otherwise I'm going to end up shooting myself in the foot. So that wants to go the other way around. White, black. And then background up foreground. So that should now. Oh, of course it's not going to pass. There we go. So now things are as we sort of expect them. So we've got our arrow character, and that can now go into our sort of colorized type thing. Clear is going to be harder to test. We can do a visual test on it as well, and just put in a little piece of test code. But for now, we'll leave that. And we now need to look at what's going on here. Now, right isn't going to work because we've broken how that is specified. So goodbye to the right function, and we can now colorize. Build up a format string, so we can just use the things that we had here. That's going to be %s for the arrow. That's going to be a problem because we compute our width. So we're going to, just for the time being, we'll worry about widths later. Our name format is, where are we? Name format is -d. So we want a percent minus, give ourselves 20 characters for the name. Let's just start building up our argument list here. So the first thing that's going to go in is that, and in fact we want to set our I seem to remember everything has a white foreground. So we'll put in our foreground there, and then we'll put in our background. So here we're going to have a term white, then we've got our rank. Oops. Then we've got an arrow, so term arrow, and that is going from oh, we need our level color as well. So our level color, we'll need to work these out in a bit. For now, let's just guess at some oh, I've got an idea. So again, I'm just thinking about usage of how we're going to do this. If we don't even need to do anything, I've got it. So if we turn around and say that I want this foreground to be a turned color, red, 0, green, 25, blue. Actually, I want this to be more purple, so green is going to be 0, red is going to be 50. Just going to mute while I sneeze. Excuse me. So that'll come out at some sort of darkish colour. And then we can say that we want that to be our background colour. And in fact, we need to use that. So let's actually specify that there. Oh, actually, the level color is something else. Let's do this. That's going to be red, and this one is going to be doink. Green. So green generally benefits from more of this. 50. So that can now just be the level color. Then we've got the ranks. Then we've got the arrow, which is going to go from background. So it's going from. Oh, that's interesting. No, it's not. That is meant to be the color.name. So we actually need a whole load of other colors defined, which I'm just going to do up here temporarily. Name color is going to be a blue. So let's put that at 50, that at 50, and that at 200, and then we can shove that. So we're going name color, level color. That's that. Oh, that'll be what's confused me. That shouldn't be level color, that should be rank color. And this is from when I added a whole lot of config options. So there's my rank color. Then we want to go from, we want our name. So that's stats.user.name. Then we want another arrow, turn.arrow. And then that's going to be from, we don't have a level color yet, that was the purpley thing I wanted. So let's take that, call it level color, and make that 100. Yeah. We can fiddle with the colors later, and then we'll make it configurable. So that's going from level color, going to level color from name color, and then we want stats.user.level. Yoink. And then we can say format.println_s. Then we can take all of this and hide it. Then we're not using that. We're not using that. We're not using that. All that. Do we already have an S? Yes, we do. Get rid of that for the time being. So in theory, if I run this, he says, wrong directory. JSON. It should print some stuff out, but it's gone a little wrong. So we're close. We've got some of the colours that I'm expecting, but not all of them. So what have we done wrong? We've got a foreground and a background. Then we have our user stats. Then we have an arrow, of course. Then we've got an arrow. And we haven't put in colours. So here we need to say rank colour. Here we need to say level colour. So we've got our I may try and do something cleverer with the arrow to actually work out what you're going to and from later. But yeah, we've got our rank, then our arrow. Oops, that's not rank colour, but that's name colour. Arrow, then we've got a background colour, then we've got an arrow, then we've got a background colour, and then we've got a %d. Let's see how that goes. Better. Our colours are going wrong for the foreground. Just looking, so the arrow's getting the wrong foreground colour. That's interesting, because that should actually be setting things and then screwing up. And then screwing up the rest. But we are correctly setting I know why. No, I don't. So it's correctly colorizing that. We're passing in the background and the foreground. We're definitely passing in the right colors. Interesting. So one of the things I think I need is to add some state to my colorize, so that when I'm resetting things like after an arrow, yeah, I think what I'm going to have to do is actually provide a placeholder for an arrow, and work out where I am. So the colorize needs to get a lot cleverer. That's all right. There we go. So colorize is now I'm going to need, now I'm just debating whether I do this with a regular expression or not. So let's just write down a little bit of what I'm trying to achieve here. So we're going to be an arrow effectively changes the background. So let's actually write that down. Arrow changes background effectively. it's not entirely true, but what we're trying to achieve is this. So the arrow starts off with its foreground color being the background color that we used to have, and its background color being the background color that we're going to. So let's write that down. Foreground is the we used to have, and background is the going to. And we also need to reset the foreground, the old foreground. So there's a few things we need to do here. First of all, we are going to specify an arrow type placeholder. Just wondering whether we can make these slightly easier to differentiate. Oops. Let's use the pointless key on my keyboard that never gets used for anything else. It never gets used for anything else. It now has a use, hurrah. And we're also going to say that an arrow is that, and then reset can just be one of those by itself. That will hopefully make things stand out a little better. We'll see. Okay, so as we're going through this, the first thing we need to do is find out arrow is going to go as a thing. We'll leave that there for now. But we need to find out what's going on. So I'm going to use a regular expression. So we're going to say, please find me that n times. So that's find this character, then any character. In fact, we can be explicit here. We can say foreground, background, arrow. And then that. So if we then run find all is it find string submatch I want? Yes. Of that. That gives me a slice of directives. Let's rename. Let's call that find directives. And we can say directives. And the reason why I've got that up there is because I'm going to shift it up in a bit and shove a comment on there for people who don't understand regexes, which is most of the world. So match n lots of f, b, very quickly to make sure that this is greedy. Regex 101, wonderful website. We are doing go, insert your regular expression here, and I want to do f. Group 1 is matching. Why are there two matches? So that is, don't turn after the first match. Are you a special character? It's not coming back in my capturing group. Gotta love regexes. That's definitely going to match once. That matches that one or more times. That. That's better because that says we can match 0 or more. We want one or more. So we'll end up with no matches there. And if we've got any matches, we will get the. So we can have. Let's pop that back. This. We can have F. A, oops, B, that's bad. If we make that explicit, it's matched that once, but it's not picking up the FB. Matches the previous token, which is our capture group, between 1 and unlimited times, yes. We have that matching twice. Oh. This is why we comment things. Match 1 group 1, match 2 group 2. So that is grouping fine. If I turn that off from a global. So the last thing to do, I think that's correct, and we will go and comment what is going on in that channel. Oh, it's me, dumb idiot. Back to my scratch. Regex must compile this thing, and then format.println r dot find string submatch was what we had before, I think, and we're going to say oops, A, B. Was I been done? Wait. Yes, F and B, not A and B. F, B, and then for good measure that, and I want that to print annoying. that unlimited number of times? There we go. Not picking up the that's much better. So that's finding, and in fact what we can do is just give that to S. Actually, we can even just do for range over that, put in S, and just be 100% sure that don't need that, need a comma there. There we go, yoink, boing. Back to find string submatch, because I think that was the correct one. Boo. This is why we don't play with regexes. So that's going to be find all string submatch. That's going to come back with the whinges about. Pick a variable. Still not coming out how I expect it. That's finding that one's a non-capturing group. Back to the 101s and just make sure that we're not doing anything. So that becomes that, that becomes that. Okay, that's more what we want. And that's a group 3. There we go. Do we need that capture group, non-capturing group then? No. There's group 3. There's our regex. What did we originally start with? Before I disappeared down that. Close, just didn't want the star on there. Let's just double check what that's going to do for me. Run that. That's FFB, okay. No, find string submatch. That's The reason why that's been funky is because I'm now iterating over too much, and it's printing the bytes out. So this should be what we expect. No, it's not. It is going to have to be find all string submatch. There we go. And then we're just going to take the second one from that. Okay. Regexes are fun. So this is find all string submatch. -1. So that's actually going to be matches. And then we are going to make, oops, directives is going to be, just checking the time, make a slice of a string that is len matches in length, excuse me, and then we're going to iterate through matches and if len match, oops, is 2, which will need to bring it to a const late, that's range, directives I is able to match 1. So that should pull out all of these things. So we know where we're at. I is being reused. Call it index. So we've now got a set of directives that we are playing with. Now we need to go through them and process them. Do we need to assign these to directives? So if we find an let's just we're going to have a foreground and a background of type color, which we will need to assign things to. Now, we don't necessarily need that. And in fact, we can just call that directives because we don't need that directive thing. So we just give that a better name. Put this in a switch block. So let's say switch. In case len match not equal to 2. Continue. If our index is greater than len I, continue. So that means we don't blow I. Then we're going to say that our color far color interface because we don't actually know what it's going to be yet. So we found our match, and thinking about it, because we're passing in foregrounds and backgrounds here, we don't need a foreground and a background here. So the next question, does the format package have a %big C? Don't think it does. Yes, no, it's lowercase. And %R. Probably leave it uppercase. So we can actually turn around and say that this becomes a colour, which is %C. It becomes that, and that becomes %R. Let's just change our regular expression, so we're now looking for % and C, R and arrow. So now we just want a colour. Of type C, and then what's this going to be? We need a different name for this. This is going to be our guess. I will parameter. Let's call it P for parameter. Let's call it param for parameter. So here, case. Actually, it's going to be the default case. Param becomes equal to match 1. So at this point we have hopefully something set in param. So we can now do another switch. I actually don't even need to do that. If don't need that up there anymore, because we can turn around and say if COK is equal to param So here we are forcing our type, we're coercing our type to a color. This syntax here basically says that if that works, OK will be set to true. If it doesn't, then OK will be false. So here we know we've got a color, and then we can say if c dot mode is equal to background. We still do need the background and the foreground. BG colors. This isn't quite correct yet. I need to add more to that. So anyway, here BG equals C. Otherwise, FG. C. So we've managed to capture, hopefully, our background and foreground color, our last background and foreground color that we saw. There's a few other things to deal with here. So actually, if match 1 is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Yes, yeah, of course I can, because it's a string. Wrong. That becomes I index. pulling the correct thing from that, so that needs to be greater than or equal to. Okay, so if the match is equal to that, we need to put an arrow in there, just very aware of the time. And if match 1 is equal to that, let's actually put the things in there, so that's arrow, that's reset, let's do a reset there, that's to do. Reset that, reset, and now we need to quickly play around. So if we've got an arrow, we want to take our foreground color, so we've got our colorize function. Where is our colorize function? I've been blind. Foreground brown. Oh, I'm in our colorize function. Yeah. Being stupid. Of course, we moved that onto colors, didn't we? So we can pull the color for that string. So if we got an arrow, we want to replace the contents of the string at position to be current directive to be, and this is going to be current background as foreground. We need to do look aheads for this. Next, background as background. Unless we say that an arrow also needs to be a background color. So an arrow is another way of specifying a background. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that down one, because we're going to need to capture this. Might want to pull that out. Very aware of the time. I am going to continue doing this and sort of plugging along. I am aware that we haven't actually completed anything really, although I suppose we did get the 24-bit color going. I will continue, I guess. There's no point in me turning the stream off if I continue doing this, but if you want to leave, you feel free. I'm going to plug on though. So I'm going to say goodbye just in case Alex decides to kill the stream on me, and encourage you to do all the social things. So the hitting of the likes and the smashing of the bells and the various other things you need to do, and the followings on the Twitters, and the coming and joining us on the Discords and seeing if you can actually beat me in the next chat competition, which starts tomorrow. So yes, goodbye if you're leaving now, or if Alex kills me now. And otherwise, I will continue wittering on as we try and work out how we're going to do this. We may need some multiple switches. So basically, I need to grab the current background that's been set. So it's going to be a new colour. I'm thinking I may have to farm some of this out to functions, and then if things have gone wrong, let's say thinking basically we need to hide that in a nice little failsafe. We'll call that cast. So if we have I'll put it down here. I'll have an internal function for now. So cast, it's going to take an interface, and it's going to return a color, and we're going to say yoink. Return C, otherwise we're going to return a background color. And that's not going to be a param, it's going to be an I. Fantastic. So we can now grab our current color as being, so we want the current background as the foreground. So we're going to build up a string that is going to be the foreground color plus our current background color, which is going to be cast index. Oops. Let's force it to be a background. I can just return an empty color then, we don't need to worry about that. Why are you still whinging? Oh, of course, because they want to be strings. And then we want our arrow. We're going to take from here. Be arrow code. So it's going to be plus arrow code, and then we want to reset the foreground to the old foreground. So we want fg.string. That should work. So we need to replace our current glyph. How do we we find that? We can use an index of. We can do that. So we can replace f. We're looking for arrow. We're going to replace it with s, and we want to do it once. That'll get rid of our first thing. Let's just break that a little bit. Oops. No, you're not going to like that. Just fiddling around with this a little bit because I think I will go back to that returning a background color by default, so that we're guaranteed to actually have a proper thing in there. Okay, so if we're a reset, we want to assign that back to f as well. F equals strings dot replace f reset code once. And then our default is to f equals strings dot replace f not going to do that as the default. Replace color with cast I index dot string once. And that should build us a nice formatting string. Now we don't really care about anything else. We can just fall through. We're effectively going to continue. And the last thing we need to do here is actually let's assign that. Let's assign that to C. Oops. That one. And we're also going to need to assign it there as well. And the reason we're doing this is that no, don't want to do the string, just want to do that. So c.mode is background. B equals C. G equals C, so we're storing it. Don't need you anymore. And you now become c.string. And then here, because we're effectively taking a background, that becomes c.string, and then bg equals c. So if I say bg is that, No, we still got a faff round. Because we could assign the background to the new one, but before that we've got to take the background and copy it. So yeah, no, we'll do it this way around. This is slightly better. Okay, so we don't need those anymore. That we've done. That's not used anymore. I think we've got some logic. Let's just fix up these comments while I'm here. C %R %arrow and none of that. So that becomes an OR. That specifies a color. Add the restart string. And there we go. %C and %arrow. Expect color type in the correct position in the argument. Marvelous. So if I then arrow and arrow test can go, they're not used anymore. And we can go across to display, and now we are using a color, our rank, an arrow, and we don't need that anymore, our name, an arrow, and we don't need that anymore. So we've got our color. Our arrow is now going from rank color to name color, so we can just use name color, and just going to specify those as undefined in terms of foregrounds and backgrounds. So this is going to be our foreground, this is going to be our background, this is going to be our new background. Don't need that, got our name, that's now going to level, which is our background. Let's see how that draws. Better. Not perfect, and I will need to go work out what's going wrong there. We're probably getting our indexes wrong, but you can see what I'm getting at there. Yeah, my indexes are clearly wrong because we're printing some stuff out, and we've got this extra term color. So we'll sort those things out. But for now, I'm going to kill the stream and go grab some food, and I shall plug on with this. This is all up on Bitbucket. People can feel free to copy it. I know it's been a bit disjointed. Apologies for that. Like I say, very, very last minute, and this is literally me just recording what I was going to be doing tonight. Anyway, even so, I hope you've had fun. Alex should hopefully be back next week, unless he exempts me from the next challenge. Interesting, that's just gone and messed my terminal up, something chronic. Yes, we shall be back to our normal programming. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. Apologies for the sound issues that we had at the beginning, and hopefully next time I do this I will have sorted those. I will catch you all